Who here knows who this is? Anyone? Who is it? Shonda Rhimes is a self-described titan of network television. She is the creator, head writer, and executive producer of Grey's Anatomy, which just reached this season its 300th episode, its 14th season ever. Grey's Anatomy is number 18 on the list of longest running dramas. So if she can keep going for 2 more years, she will have beat Lassie. She's also the creator, head writer, and executive producer of Private Practice, Scandal, and she's the creator and executive producer of How to Get Away with Murder. She has 2 new shows on TV right now, For the People, and Station 19, which is a spin-off of Grey's Anatomy. Miranda Bailey's husband, Ben, he left to become a firefighter. She wasn't happy. Station 19. She also owns a production company, which she has named Shondaland. In 2014, ABC dedicated Thursday nights entirely to Shondaland programming, and they named it TGIT. Thursdays are the most important night of television because that is the night that advertisers make their biggest buys for the stuff they want to sell us over the weekends. And the networks put on their highest rated shows on Thursday nights. The AP called her reign of an entire night of network television unmatched in TV history. In 2015, she wrote a book. Of course, it was a New York Times bestseller, and it's called The Year of Yes, which was about her experiment of saying yes to everything within reason for a year. Last September, she partnered with Hearst Media, who owns online magazines such as Cosmopolitan and Elle, to launch Shondaland.com, a digital lifestyle magazine. Last August, Shonda signed a huge deal with Netflix, and this will give her more creative freedom in her shows, but she still gets to keep her TGIT programming on Thursday nights on ABC. Here's some other quick facts about Shonda. She has a net worth of over $120 million. Grey's Anatomy won a Golden Globe for Best TV Drama. Time magazine named her one of 100 people who helped shape the world. She was the first woman to create 3 hit shows in more than 100 episodes each. And she also founded the Rhimes Family Foundation, which has given away millions of dollars to charities. What has helped Shonda become so darn successful? In addition to producing addictive shows, Shonda's programs are also incredibly diverse. Almost anyone will see a person from their demographic reflected back to them as a character in one of her shows. Ironically, Shonda doesn't like the word diversity. She says, "I have a different word, normalizing. I am making TV look like the world looks. Women, people of color, LGBTQ people equal way more than 50% of the population, which means it ain't out of the ordinary." If you've been paying attention to demographic numbers released by major companies, you would know there is a huge lack of diversity in tech and other industries. Maybe you've gone to a company website and you've navigated to their a page that looks something like this. What is normal? I'm going to show you represented by these 20 smileys. They are going to represent the adult population of the US. First, let's look at a breakdown by gender. According to the census, US adult population is 51% female, 49% male, and according to a 2012 Gallup poll, about 0.3% of US adults identify as trans or non-binary. Next is race and ethnicity. According to the 2010 census, 63.7% of the US is white. Since then, of course, we have gotten more diverse. In 2012, it became about an even 50-50 split of white and non-white kids aged 5 and under. And they predict that by 2043, white folks will make up less than 50% of the population in this country. Next is 16.3% Hispanic or Latino, 2.12% Black, 4.7% Asian, about 2% two or more races, like myself, and about 1% Native American, Alaskan, Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander. Next is sexual orientation. According to that same 2012 Gallup poll, about 3.4% of US adults identify as either lesbian, gay, or bisexual. I think that number is low, but my gaydar is not empirical evidence to the contrary. About 1 in 5 people report having a disability, and that includes communicative, physical, and mental disabilities. Now let's take a look at breakdown by age. About 10% are 19 to 25, 12% 26 to 34, 13% 35 to 44, 14% 45 to 54, which is mine and Shonda's demographic, 1970 in the house, 14% 55 to 64, and the biggest percentage is 65 and up, and the overwhelming majority is 35 and older. These are our users. This is what normal looks like, or translated into Shondaland. Shonda had a character from every single one of those demographics except Native Americans, so I added my employee, Scott. This is just US adults. Our products are used worldwide. Our content is read worldwide. Our users get more diverse every day. Why is this an issue we should be concerned about? We build products that are used by people all over the world. Whatever that product is, a website, software, or content, when there's a disparity between the creators and the users, problems can arise. Harvard Business Review did a national survey of 1,800 professionals, and they found companies with diverse leadership had better understood end users and were 70% likelier to report they captured a new market that year. In 2016, Snapchat made 2 filters that offended major portions of their users. If they had a more diverse team, someone could have given them a heads up before those filters went into production. Some products may just not work for some people, like as seen with the soap dispenser in this video that was posted by a Facebook employee. The first generation of Apple Watches, the heart rate monitors, had issues with high melatonin skin and with tattooed skin. A more diverse team could have avoided unintended and costly mistakes. In addition to the benefit of diverse teams better understanding end users, research proves diversity makes companies more productive overall. University of Michigan researchers put together groups to solve problems. One group was made up of randomly chosen individuals, and the other group was made up of the best performers. They found the randomly chosen group of people with varying abilities consistently outperformed a group made of the best. Diversity of thought beats ability when it came to solving problems as a team. In this study, Forbes surveyed 321 executives from global companies making $500 million up and found that had diversity programs in place. And respondents reported better innovation, better decision making, and it helped them attract and retain the best talent. This search critically examined a large collection of literature and research papers on workplace diversity, and they found multicultural organizations to be better at problem solving, possess better ability to extract expanded meanings, and are more likely to display multiple perspectives and interpretations in dealing with complex issues. Research has also found diversity makes companies more profitable overall. In this 2015 study of 366 international companies, researchers found a correlation between diverse composition of top management and boards and higher than average profits in the industry. 3 years later, this year, that same team of researchers expanded their sample size and found greater correlation, a heightening of gender diversity in management positions increases profitability more than previously thought. It went from 15% to 21%. They expanded the sample size from 366 companies to 1,000 companies and found an even stronger correlation between gender diversity and higher profits. And the same study also found ethnic diversity, in addition to gender diversity, resulted in higher profits as well. Companies with the most ethnically diverse executives are 33% more likely to outperform their peers on profitability. But it's not just about making better products and profits, right? Homogeneity and exclusion isn't good. We want a wide variety of folks participating in our companies. Why aren't companies more diverse? I call it the myth of meritocracy. The myth being the most qualified candidate gets the job, when in reality, some qualified people never make it to the first round because of unconscious bias. Now, I give people the benefit of the doubt that this bias is mostly unconscious. I understand, I'm not naive. I know that there is conscious bias as well. But I truly believe, if given the chance, most folks would want to be inclusive rather than exclusionary. Maybe you've heard of Kim O'Grady. He had a 2013 Tumblr post go viral. He told the story of 4 months of job hunting and having all of his applications rejected. He didn't know what was going on. Then he tried applying to jobs that he felt he was overqualified for, and still no response. Then one day it dawned on him. I made one change that day. I put Mr. in front of my name on my CV. I got an interview for the very next job I applied for and the one after that. What difference does a name make? In a Yale University randomized double-blind study, they sent 227 US STEM professors resumes to evaluate. The resumes were completely identical, except for one thing. Half had the name John, and half had the name Jennifer. The scientists were less willing to mentor or hire Jennifer, and the ones who were, on average, offered Jennifer $4,000 or 13% less a year than John. In this study, professors from the University of Chicago sent fictitious resumes to 1,300 help-wanted ads in the Boston Globe and the Chicago Tribune. And they measured the success of each one of these resumes by the amount of callbacks that they received. The resumes were identical, except for one thing. Half had a white-sounding name, and the other half had an African-American sounding name. Applicants with white-sounding names were 50% more likely to get called for an interview. What they then did was they rose the quality of these fictitious resumes. They made these fictitious candidates overqualified for the jobs they were applying for. White applicants' higher quality resumes resulted in 30% more callbacks, and the identical resumes for African American applicants resulted in 9% more callbacks. We hear a lot about culture fit when it comes to building teams. But why is hiring for culture fit an issue, or can be an issue, when it comes to diversity? This is my friend Courtney. She lives in Philadelphia. She's lead DevOps engineer at Wirecutter. She was a 2015 and 2016 White House LGBT Tech and Innovation Fellow. She's a very talented programmer. And she's also a public speaker and teacher. She spoke at WordCamp US in 2016. She told me this story about an interview process that she went through a few years ago. The phone and in-person interviews went incredibly well. A few days later, they called saying I was qualified and felt confident I had the ability to perform whatever was required of me. But they felt I wasn't a good culture fit. I am incredibly easygoing, so I was mystified by what that meant until I took a second look at the company website. If I joined them as a developer, I'd be the only woman there outside of administration and the only Black person. Researchers at the Wharton School for Business found the biggest problem is while we invoke culture fit as a reason to hire someone, it is far more common to use it to not hire someone. Do you want to build a work environment where folks with similar backgrounds party with their friends every day? Or do you want to build an environment that ultimately benefits your team and your customers? We are attracted to people like us. It's human nature. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. Even Shonda has an African-American woman in charge in almost every single one of her shows. But when it comes to building leadership and teams, we need to fight that inclination. The only way that culture in the workplace is effective is if there are sets of values that help the company achieve its strategy. Or to quote my wife and co-founder, Mia, your clients don't give a shit about your beer pong Fridays and foosball tables. There are a lot of misconceptions around diversity that many of us need to correct in our minds, right? I have seen this term thrown around a lot. It implies that you are assembling an artificial team of people just for the sake of diversity. Instead of diversity for diversity's sake, it should be diversity for normalizing's sake. Reality is diverse. Homogeneity is a world like the Smurfs, and we all know that that is not real. Diversity is not a lowering of quality. As we have learned through scientific research, it is in fact the opposite. I really dislike this term because it implies you're hiring an unqualified person just for the sake of diversity. There is nothing about a person from a marginalized community that makes them inherently unqualified for a job. A push for more diversity is an increase in overall quality. Diversity makes teams better problem solvers, more understanding of end users, and brings measurable financial gain. This is an overall greater benefit to your organization than just an individual set of skills. To quote my friend Mark, a fellow gay web agency owner in Philadelphia, when we have to choose among equally qualified candidates, we choose the candidate that will best maintain our culture of diversity. Right now, we could use the perspective of some cisgender straight white men. When you have the choice between two equally qualified candidates, the person who brings more diversity to your team brings more value. What can we do about this problem? How can we make it better? One step is to write inclusive job listings. A scientific study of 4,000 job descriptions found lack of gender-inclusive wording made it harder to recruit women in positions where women are underrepresented. In this study, 96 random job seekers were asked to read job descriptions containing what researchers identified as masculine and feminine-themed words. They found listings with female-friendly words appealed to women, even in male-dominated jobs. But before I get to those words in a second, let's talk about words you should just never, ever use in a job description. An individual took a survey of people from communities who are underrepresented in their fields, and they asked them to identify language and job descriptions and made them just completely back away. Red flag words that would prevent them from applying in the first place. Those words were, well, some of those words were ninja, rock star, hacker, cowboy, guys, superhero, Jedi, and guru. Here are the masculine theme words that those researchers identified. Ambitious, analytical, assertive, autonomous, best of the best, boastful, chairman, competitive salary, dominate, rigid, takes risks, and hierarchical. And these are the feminine theme words that they identified. Adaptable, choose, collaborate, creative, curious, flexible schedule, multitasking, imaginative, intuitive, self-aware, thoughtful, and trustworthy. Now, the point here is not to only use the feminine theme words and none of the masculine theme words, but if you're going to use a word like ambitious, you want to balance it out with a word like creative. Next step, look at your job interview process. First, I want to share a story from Melanie, who is a former employee of ours. She has gone on from working in web development to becoming a funeral director. And she told us about a job interview experience she once had. The day of my interview, I arrived and the manager took me into his office. The first thing he said was, after speaking to you on the phone to schedule an interview, I expected somebody white. That's an example of something that should never be said, ever, to anyone at a job interview. But here are some examples of questions that you should never ask at job interviews. Cheryl is a Philadelphia lawyer who specializes in diversity issues, and she advises that the following questions never be asked. The Age Discrimination Employment Act of 1967 forbids employment discrimination against anyone at least 40 years of age, in the United States. The innocent version of this question would be something like, what year did you graduate? So that's a question you should not ask, because that may give you a clue as to how old they are. The Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is a federal law that prohibits employers from discriminating against employees on the basis of sex, race, color, national origin, and religion. The innocent-sounding version of this question is, where do you see yourself in 2 years, having a family? These kind of questions that sound like I'm just trying to get to know you is actually extracting some information that is not relevant to your job performance. This is also covered under Title II, and the innocent version of this question may be, where's your family from? This is also covered under Title VII, and a question that should be avoided is be like, where do you go to church? The Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 prohibits employers from discriminating against employees on the basis of disability. The ADA also requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations to employees with disabilities. In addition to these federal laws, you should check your local laws, because one thing that is not covered federally is discriminating against people on the basis of sexual orientation or gender orientation. I'm lucky in Philadelphia there are laws to protect me from discrimination in housing and employment, but in another area of the country, you can absolutely be fired for being gay, and it's legal. So check your local laws. Like they say, you can get married on a Saturday and fired on a Monday. Now that you know unconscious bias is real, researched and proven, think hard while you're turning down an applicant. Why are you deleting that resume from your inbox? Strive for a true meritocracy. Or you can ask yourself, what would Shonda do? Shonda uses an open casting process, and you should too. Shonda Rhimes pointedly avoided specifying her character's ethnicities, going so far as to leave off last names to help ensure the casting process would be a truly open one. Hiding all information that gives away gender, age, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and disability status will promote truly merit-based hiring. There's a few ways you can go about this. You can hire someone to actually go through all the applications and anonymize all the names and date you graduated, etc. You can use an online service like Blendor. Blendor is an online, it's like software as a service, online database, and merit-based hiring. They're in their private beta, so there's like an enterprise private beta, so you can contact them and get access to their database. Or you can use a WordPress plugin, coming soon. Our company is working on a plugin called Level Playing Field, and it will allow you to list jobs and then collect anonymized applications. It's coming soon. Last week, actually, we just won a business award for this project in Philadelphia by the IBA is the LGBT Chamber of Commerce in Philadelphia. And I got to hold a big check, and that was very exciting. And this is going to give us the money to get it done this year, so keep an eye out. In addition to providing jobs, companies also provide opportunities to other companies. The firm who does your accounting, the company who does your printing, the agency who develops your website, these are all opportunities to send business to diverse companies. Many corporations have supplier diversity programs in place. Check to see if yours does. And if not, be a champion for that to be started. In order to qualify for supplier diversity, companies must be certified through a national certifying organization such as Women-Owned Business Certification, which we have, LGBT Business Enterprise Certification that's done through the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, we have that too. National Minority Supplier Development Council does minority certification. And there's also Veteran-Owned Business Certification. This certification process is very rigorous. So if you hire one of these companies with one of these certifications, you'll know that they truly have majority diverse ownership. Inclusion is just as important as diversity. If you hire folks, they will not stay if they do not feel like a valued member of your organization with a future there. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Without inclusion, the crucial connections that attract diverse talent, encourage their participation, foster innovation, and lead to business growth won't happen. Research done by Harvard Business Review found 4 factors that drive inclusion. The first one, inclusive leaders. There are 6 behaviors of an inclusive leader. They ensure team members speak up and are heard. They make it safe to propose ideas. They empower team members to make decisions. And they take advice and implement feedback, give actionable feedback, and share credit for team success. The next one is authenticity. We all need to be professional at work. However, people from marginalized communities often feel like they can't be their authentic selves at work. Do women feel the need to act like a man to get ahead? If photos are allowed, can LGBT folks feel that they can put photos of their family? They feel comfortable to do that. Can Black folks have natural hair without being told it doesn't look professional? Anytime a person feels they have to hide or alter a part of themselves when others do not, it's soul-crushing and it's really stressful. Within companies, there's mentorship, guidance, and feedback given by senior employees in order to improve job performance and progress in the company. Make sure mentorship is given equally to diverse employees. Don't make someone feel like a diversity hire. If there are no senior employees advocating for them, they'll feel like they're there to improve numbers and not an actual valued member of the team. Is there a game that needs to be played to get to the top that diverse folks feel they'll never be able to participate in? People need to feel there's a fair path to advancement, to see a future for themselves at a company, or they're just not going to stay. Now here's the fun part. Make new friends. Go beyond your usual networks and find diverse networking groups and attend their events. We may have different life experience and different backgrounds, but we have a lot in common as human beings. Make sincere, real connections with people. Is your Twitter feed looking a little homogeneous? Find diverse leaders in your industry and start following them and get in tune with that conversation that's going on. Many areas have diverse chambers of commerce. For example, in Philadelphia, we have African American Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, Asian American Chamber, and LGBT Chamber of Commerce. And all of these chambers have corporate sponsorship opportunities. Corporate sponsorship is a great way to support the diverse business community. It shows that you care, that you support this community. And their networking events are great. You will be networking with the biggest and best leaders in the diverse communities in your area, and you'll have an opportunity to make real, sincere relationships with them. And it's also a wealth of talent. There are also diverse networking groups. In Philadelphia, we have multiple diversity and tech networking groups. Meetup.com is a great place to find these opportunities in your area. Attend and sponsor their events. Hiring is an ongoing process, right? We are always hiring. And hiring is about relationships. Hiring is about networking. These organizations are a treasure trove of talented people and potential hires. Supply is the next piece of the puzzle. Marginalized people have been historically roadblocked from careers in tech and engineering. And you want to work to help increase the pipeline of diverse folks in tech. In Philadelphia, for example, we have groups teaching people to code. Find groups in your area and support them. Raise money, promote their events, find volunteer and sponsorship opportunities. I am an instructor for Girl Develop It. Girl Develop It is a national organization that creates friendly environments for women to learn to code. I developed the WordPress curriculum. I also teach the WordPress curriculum in Philadelphia. You can teach or TA for a Girl Develop It class no matter what your gender orientation is. And it is an amazing place to find talented people. Our last hire, I was teaching an intro to WordPress class, and we all go around the room and say like why we're here. And it came to one woman, and she's like, I want to be a WordPress developer. And in my mind, I was like, I'm going to make that happen. So I got to know her, found out she was super talented, and now she's one of our developers. And she's amazing and great, and it wasn't like a miracle or something. I just did the work to keep my eyes open and be in the spaces where these people are at and just like be able to identify talent. If there are no groups in your area, there are great national organizations that are also teaching people from marginalized communities to code. Look them up, follow their executive directors on Twitter, and find ways to support these organizations. I would not have the rights I have today if it weren't for allies. One time in the road to marriage equality, I can't remember the exact law, but there was one day that there was a law passed that was like a devastating blow to marriage equality. And it's strange to be living your life and everything's great, and then one day you wake up and you realize that, wow, people are still making it their jobs to deny me my equal rights, you know? But then I got on Facebook, and all my straight friends had changed their avatars to rainbows, which is not going to change the law, but it just, for us, as a community, it just says like, we understand you're hurting today, you know? That show of empathy really just blows my mind, because it wouldn't have been that way 20 years ago or 10 years ago. So without allies, nothing can get better. So as allies can have such an influence in this space, and your work as an ally is so important. Do you have diverse clients? If you do, work as hard for them as you would any of your other clients. In August of 2017, an article came out about a startup called Witchsea, who was having trouble with their web developers. They weren't getting back to them, they weren't completing tasks asked of them, and it was hurting this company because they were an e-commerce company and they needed to get their company launched. So they decided to create a fictitious male co-founder named Keith Mann. And Keith took over email correspondence with their web developers. It would take me days to get a response, but Keith could not only get a response and a status update, but also be asked if he wanted anything else or if there was anything else that Keith needed help with. If you have the opportunity to launch a minority or women-owned business, then do all you can to help them be successful like you would any of your other clients. Many of us here are in leadership positions, or we do a lot of presenting at conferences or events. I have been to countless presentations or just general conversations with people where the speaker refers to hypothetical, fictitious programmers or developers or hires as he, him, or guys. When referring to hypothetical people, use gender-neutral pronouns or switch back and forth equally. This is so simple to do, but it really makes a big impact in changing this default association that people in tech equals dudes. Women will absolutely notice that you're doing it if you do it, and it'll telegraph that your company has a culture of inclusivity. I noticed that one of my colleagues in Philadelphia, he also owns a web development agency, did this seamlessly. He does it better than I do. And so I asked him, like, why does he do it? He said, intermixing she, he, and they in your talks deepens your connection with your audience. Using a mix of these words encourages people to listen because you're speaking to their experience as they are. When you're putting together presentations and adding images to slide decks, especially if you're using stock photography, make sure the pictures depicting people and tech are not completely homogeneous. In other words, not just these fellas. If you're invited to be on a panel and everyone on the panel looks just like you, just say something, because the organizers may honestly not realize that they've done that. They may not know that they put together a homogeneous panel. And this day and age, there is really no excuse for a completely homogeneous panel. So if you see something, say something. And it'll help avoid debacles like this that happened a few months ago. True story. As leaders, we have the opportunity to be leaders in increasing diversity in our industries. We hire and mentor people, we speak at conferences, we make products and build the software that runs 30% of the web. Let's work to fix this problem. Try channeling your inner Shonda. If people aren't being included, then I'm going to find a way to make sure they're included. I'm going to find a way to make sure they have opportunities. Thank you very much.